school, each Sunday night, I'd watch the practice with none of my friends. I'd turn the dial to ABC to see the creep of the week that Bobby Donald defends. But I'm out of practice.
With your hosts, Keith Varney.
Out of practice.
And Mike Indeglio. Woo!
Way back in high school, most every night, my mom watched QVC, so I missed the practice. There was no TiVo, what could I do? Wait 15 years, get fat, then stream it on Hulu. Out of practice.
We're sorry for last week.
You know, Keith, I have no idea what you might be talking about.
Out of practice.
And welcome to the Out of Practice Podcast, a weekly podcast in which I, Keith, and that guy, Mike, discuss David E. Kelley's award-winning series, The Practice. This week, we are up to Season 5, Episode 17. What child is this? We are done with crossovers.
Whew.
Some of them go well. Some of them were last week. But we are now in the home stretch of The Practice. There are no more crossovers. The entire run of the series.
Wow,
probably
they learned their lesson.
I think because they learned their lesson, perhaps David E. Kelley's agent got involved, or they were like, let's not do that again. So we are just here, just rocketing through the end of Season 5 of The Practice. How's it going, Mike?
It's good. I want to assure our listeners, our dear, devoted listeners, that though David E. Kelley and their company may have learned their lesson, we have not, nor do we ever intend to. So if you think that was the last bad idea we had last week, you are sadly mistaken. We have plans. Well, I don't know that we have plans, but we will have plans.
We're at about episode 104 of A Bad Idea.
Yeah.
So
well, yes, that is true.
we're committing to it. Tom Brady Award for being Tom Brady.
Yeah. Yes. We're nothing if not committed. I'll say that.
Perhaps should be. Oh my goodness. So how's the week been?
It's been pretty,
We had the inauguration. How fun was that?
I was going to say, I slept so soundly a few nights ago for the first time in what feels like 4 years.
Yeah.
The honor, it was great, man. I have to tell you, look, no caveat needed. You know that we wear our political leanings on our sleeve, but we were texting a bit. I cried a lot, man. I think it was a lot of just relief being felt.
Yeah.
And it was also beautiful. Look, for a second, I'll be apolitical. Regardless of your affiliation, regardless of what you think of any politician or political party, one thing I think is objectively clear, during this pandemic period, the people that the DNC hired to sort of create their political theater, be it the convention or the inauguration, were clearly more skilled than those on the other side of the aisle. You can tell by the inauguration and by the conventions. It's the Democrats honed how to do political theater. I thought the inauguration from the beginning of the day to the end was just so well put together, beautiful, diverse voices, the imagery. They really sold, well, I mean, there are people who will disagree, but I think they really sold the ideas of unity and of trying to re-foster that American pride, national pride, which you and I have our issues with in general. But I thought that there was a much more a sense of unity and one America than if you juxtapose that with the inaugural 4 years ago.
Well, there was a sense of wanting it to be not democratic, but a small d democratic. Like, oh, right, we're a democracy. Right. Oh, I forgot. And in terms of the stagecraft and the talent level, it's just because they have access to talent. I mean, honestly, like the reason that Trump didn't have better people performing is because nobody would. And so you ended up with, some racist country star and the third runner-up in America's Got Talent in 2006, because that's all who was willing to be a part of it. So they do have some structural advantages. So, but yeah, I definitely was delighted. I went out for the first time in my life, planted an American flag on the front of our house at the moment that the power switched over. I was very excited to do that, and it's because the flag has been co-opted as a symbol of not our country, but of a political party within our country, and I was happy to sort of take that back just a hair.
So when I drive to my brother's house, he lives maybe 20 minutes from here. There, I go through. It's really interesting where the place in Pennsylvania I live. It's really pretty evenly divided between really hardcore conservatives and some liberal-leaning folks. And I saw a lot of the Biden-Harris people who I've become familiar with on my drive switch from the Biden-Harris flags back to an American flag. And a good handful of people who were proud Trump-Pence flag flyers switching from Trump-Pence flags to, no joke, Trump flags with Pence spray painted out. That's a real thing.
Yep, that all makes perfect sense. But I have certainly enjoyed very much the last few days of hearing nothing from him.
I will say,
so
yes,
beautiful.
it has been nice. I will also say, just lastly, maybe we'll cap it with this. Also, what came out of the inaugural is one of the great internet memes of 2021 already, the Bernie Sanders sitting with the mittens.
I don't understand. 1% of my hands were not covered by the mittens. 99% of my hands were covered and warm and toasty warm.
We were not strangers to it. We posted our own. But subsequently, I believe it's jumped the shark a little bit for me. I'm a little overseeing it, but
I've never seen a meme jump the shark as fast as the Bernie meme did. That just melted the internet.
Yeah, really fast. But anyway, listen, we've said it before. We'll say it again. We try to not talk our politics too much.
We kind of do every single week.
We do, but all of that said, in the spirit of said unity, I want to reiterate that we really do. This really is about watching the show and loving our listeners and stuff, and everybody is welcome. From except if you were in the Capitol. If you stormed the Capitol building, you're not particularly invited to the show. I think we can agree on that, Keith.
The way I would say it is go fuck yourself and burn in hell. But you're slightly more diplomatic than I am.
Slightly, he says. All right. Well, in to pay penance of last week, I feel like we'll keep let's do a pretty straight show this week. And
yeah, well, I'm gonna do our straight show by immediately interrupting it and shilling something that I did.
That's right.
So this week, now that I've finally been home and had time to sort of finish up on some projects, my older brother Sean and I have finished a fake children's book that is a spin-off from our other podcast, Wisdom of One, which is our Dungeons and Dragons podcast. And there was one episode where he asked Scott and I to come up with a fable from the point of view of our character that we're playing. And of course, my character is a nihilistic narcissist named Skankra. So he wrote the story, The Farmer and the Two-Faced Lord. And so my older Sean is an artist. And so we collaborated and built our own fake children's book with a twisted, nihilistic, upsetting ending. So it's not for kids.
Amazing.
But it is now available on the Amazons in paperback or on your Kindles. So we'll put the link in the show notes, or Michael put the link in the show notes. Go check it out. Go get our silly book. Sean is a really tremendous artist, and it was really fun to work together on it. I did the color, and he did the ink.
Keith,
And
we gotta do, since we're doing it, we gotta do a reading rainbow of the first page.
Oh, okay. Well, it's really not that exciting, because the first page is, once upon a time, there was an honest farmer who worked hard to provide for his family by working for the local lord.
Okay, so now there you go,
Yeah.
folks. We teed it up. I'm sure you're dying to know what happens next.
Oh, I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, that's so exciting. But check it
really
out.
cool.
The Farmer and the Two-Faced Lord by me and my brother Sean. Check it out on Amazon. It's a really good like paperback to put next to the toilet. Your guests will enjoy reading it.
This just in, I predict that book sells 2 to 3 times as many copies as your actual novels.
I know. Great. Fine. By all means.
That's not pejorative, buddy. That I'm just telling you, that's the way it's going to work out for you.
Oh, 100. Well, I'm happy to. I mean, and this is the part that got me, was this like 32-page children's book. Now, of course, there's a lot of work when you're doing all the illustrations, but like, I get the same royalty on this as I do on the like 400-page novels. And I'm like, what am I doing? I've been doing this the hard way.
Well, dude, look at Colbert and Jon Stewart and all the like Daily all the punditry the comedic
I have
punditry
2 of them
people
back there, actually.
Yeah, they started writing novels, right? And then subsequent to that first novel, it all became children's books.
Yeah, it's so much more fun. It's not to be fair. I really loved writing my novels, and they're super fun. And check them out, The Dead Circle on Amazon.
They won't be in the show notes.
But yeah, they're a lot of work. They're a lot more work. So anyway, check it out. Pick up a copy. You'll enjoy reading it on the Crapper. So let us move forward into our show with
Filings and Subpoenas. Filings and Subpoenas. Filings and Subpoenas. Filings and Subpoenas.
Well, folks, we put out a weird and upsetting episode last week, and we got some weird and upsetting feedback. We didn't. It was actually great. So last week, if you missed it, that was wise. We did
It was a good call. Good call on your part.
Basically a dramatic improv reading of the crossover on Gideon's Crossing, the Flashpoint episode, available nowhere. Mm-hmm. And of course, we heard from lots of people online saying, what the hell was that? Including our new friend, Robin Scannell, who said, after watching the most recent podcast episode, I see why they canceled Gideon's Crossing. It's very meta.
Snaps for that. Snaps for that.
I think we got a show recanceled. I don't know if it's possible to.
Someone somewhere was like, you know what? Maybe we should probably just release the streaming rights to Gideon's Crossing. And then our podcast dropped, and they were like, you know what? I've thought about it.
Burn it with fire. Burn it with fire.
I had to spend not the whole week, but like a good couple of days. She's in the other room, so I don't like. Jen kept going, no, I think it's funny. I was like, yeah, great. It was great, Jen. You were great.
No, she was great. She was fantastic. Yes. No.
She stayed committed the whole time. About 20 minutes in, I actively checked out and was like, I'm not into this.
Yeah, no. Yeah, she was like a professional and like crushing it and being funny. And we were like, this is not a good idea. We're like, I had to save like 10 minutes. And I'm like, well, this was a mistake.
Well, Keith,
so
I'm going to tell you where you shot yourself in the foot for me there. See, I've just come to expect, because of your previous oeuvre, your body of work, that you just...
I'd be prepared.
Well, when you pitched the idea to me, what I really thought, and this is 100% believed in my heart had happened, and I was blown away. I was like, I can't believe this, is that you took that summary and had turned it into a screenplay that we were just going to read as characters.
That would have been much better if I'd done that.
Because when you were like, oh, Jen's going to play Eleanor, my brain went, oh, he's turned it into an actual screenplay. So the moment when it was just like, here's this clump of text, make it characters and intelligible, it became daunting very fast. I think there were some moments. There were moments.
No, that was my mistake. I was definitely, I was a little, I could have prepared a little harder for that. Well, whatever.
No, we should just not have done it. Like, we should have just been doing this week. last week.
No,
But you know what?
It was fun. It was weird. Whatever. Sometimes like we go off on a wild tangent and it's not funny, but like, hey, you know what? That's what happens. We just talk, and that's what happened for like an hour.
Thank you to those who listened through who like endured it. We appreciate you.
We're so sorry.
Yeah. You're very good people.
So,
We love you.
you're great people. You're amazing people. I tweet about it, but I can't.
I have to. Sorry, I'm derailing again.
Oh, you just said we're gonna go tight. Whatever. We have football coming on in like 90 minutes.
Once again, CEO Jen. Yeah, so if you see me and Keith start to go like this, we've started watching football also. CEO Jen, God love her. God love her. What a sweet person. She, during the inaugural, she texts me when they have all the old presidents come out. Well, most of the former presidents come out. And she's like, ooh, we should clip just that bit and Keith can do all their voices. And I was like, you love the show. You're the one person who loves the show.
That's true. I could. Yes. Well, and I'm still trying to work on my Biden. It's not ready yet, but I'm.
Stephen Colbert's is. His is so funny, man.
Does he have a good Biden? Oh, that's good.
No, but his caricature of the Biden is good.
Right. Well, and that's what you really have to do when you have somebody without a lot of like idiosyncratic quirks, is you have to find an angle personality-wise and lead into it. Whatever. We're moving forward.
Yes, we are.
Mike, we're moving forward. Moderator, Phoenix Cage, speaking of, in a similar theme, quoted me as saying, if this is my pilot for Gideon's Crossing, I don't know why I watch episode 2. And he says, well, Keith, as it happens, I recently saw the actual pilot for Gideon's Crossing, and I'm pretty sure no one watched episode 2. Months ago, while I was helping you look for this episode, so many people did, I found the full pilot on YouTube, and being a fan of Andre Braugher, I decided to sit and watch it. So, and it was not good. He also says, fun fact from the future. CEO Jen gets the dubious distinction of having been on both the most and least watched episodes of this podcast. That is probably
Snaps.
true.
That made me audibly laugh out loud when he wrote that.
And he also, Dr. Cage, talks about, Mike, the head rush experience you described. And this is one little nugget, one little gem that we got from this episode is the story of how you ended up passed out on the floor of your bathroom with your manhood in your hand. He says, Mike, the head rush experience you described is called the orthostatic hypotension. It happens when you stand up, and it can be exacerbated by low blood pressure and or overheating. Oh, I said it right. Oh, good, because I was cold reading that. I'm like, oh shit, orthostatic. Fuck. I made a guess. I think I was right. And I was going to chime in, but I'll just say it here. I've had the same thing, actually, where you,
especially as I get older,
sit down for a long time, and then your blood is in your legs, and you stand up really quick. I had that happen a couple of times when I was a kid, actually. And I remember we were watching The Lost Boys. Remember that old like vampire movie?
It's one of Jen's favorite movies.
Oh, I have not seen it since this. I never actually saw the whole thing, but we were in the basement with my brothers watching it, and I felt sick. And so I jumped up and was like running up the stairs because I thought I was going to barf. And I totally passed out while I was running up the stairs, and like fell down the stairs with my head hitting every step, boom, 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 all the way to the bottom, and like woke up on the floor upstairs, just like exactly like the movie where you're like seeing people leaning over you. It's funny. So I've actually had that happen before.
I will leave it here, but the one thing I don't go to the doctor very often. Insurance is a tricky beast for me as a freelancer, and I find it interesting, the few times I've checked my blood pressure in past years, it's a bit on the higher side, which isn't surprising. My family, high blood pressure runs in our family, but it's generally after I drink coffee that I take my blood pressure, which I find leads to pretty inaccurate readings. But I've actually often thought I suffer from chronically low blood pressure because of these head rush incidents I have, which is something that Phoenix mentions in his comments as well. So hopefully the universe conspires to get me to the doctor soon so that I can kind of sort all that out. But thanks for your concern, Phoenix. I do appreciate it.
Thank you, Doctor. Okay. It is now time to hop back into the time machine. Back 19 years ago to March 18th, the year 2001, and ask everyone's favorite question, what was going on?
This day in the basement.
Oh, you're doing the graphics live? How fancy.
We'll do it live.
Do it live!
Live. That was interesting grit I was able to achieve there.
That's probably good.
So what's the date? March what?
March 18th, the year 2001.
So I'll be brief. I'll let you jump to your more fun stuff because mine's a little it's getting sad. So, my dad, he had cancer and heart disease and quadruple bypass surgery and all these things, and he just got better and better and better. He bounced back. He was like a Superman, this guy. And he had been recovering from some things in the nursing homes and whatnot, but there was a period of time in this March here where he came home. We had him at home, and it was nice to have him home, if not incredibly stressful. As you know, I was working at the bread company and then coaching crew, and my brother was just home from school and teaching, and it was a very stressful time. My sister was still in high school, so she was in her senior year of high school dealing with all this bullshit. And my brother and I were like superheroes attempting to take my dad. He had been a lifelong type 2 diabetic and was on multiple shots of insulin every day, which we were trying to regulate with all this other crap going on. And his kidneys were just giving out on him, which is typical for diabetics in the long run. It is a fatal disease really in the long run. And he's actively having renal failure, and we were trying every day to get him to dialysis twice a day. In the morning to the hospital, in the night at the hospital. And we needed both of us, and sometimes our third person, he would sometimes come from his job to help us get my dad to dialysis. It was really he's like another brother to us, thank you. And this one time, I'll never forget, around this period of time, I had to take him by myself, get him into the car, out of the car with the wheelchair, the whole thing. And he just slipped, right? Oh. And he was in such bad shape at the time that like his forearm, his wrist, like this bone here, just shattered, just like disintegrated into dust. And of course, he was in a pretty grumpy place, so he laid that on me and my grandfather, who was actually actively terrible at the time, but he was going through watching his son get very sick, so I give him some grace. Let me have it about that. And it became clear to us that we weren't going to be able to do this, right? Like that this wasn't a tenable situation and a sustainable situation. And so at this point, we're trying to do, like many Americans, like many people, trying to figure out, okay, we're not wealthy enough to really like have a full-time nurse. We're not wealthy enough to like nor would my father ever allow himself to be put into any sort of like a retirement home
assisted
or
living.
anything like that.
Yeah.
So but yet we're in a situation where something has to give, right? And so it was, very early on an experience for me of realizing that, regardless of what political party is holding office, being middle class or lower middle class is not the American dream. It is. No. There isn't a lot of assistance, and what assistance there is, you have to work and fight for. If you hold any sort of employment, my dad he owned a company. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't save you. And so we were going through it, and it was the first time in my life where I had to realize my privilege and that my parents had sort of sheltered me and taken care of me my whole life. And like once it becomes my job to take care of myself and my family, it's a challenge. So that's where we are. Spoiler alert: the next few weeks are going to be a little grim, and we've only got 2 months left before we get to my dad passing away. So that's the cheery this day in the basement from my end.
No,
Keith,
but it's what you were going through, and I think it's still important still important to to talk about, and the difficulties that you faced, and the sort of battling the system, battling fate, battling all of these things, things that are just way more difficult than ought to be, being forced to make decisions there are no good options. And before you're really ready to make those decisions.
And interesting too, looking back in therapy and talking about it now, an interesting dynamic as well. I don't know how prevalent it is these days. Luckily, these days, I think alternative family dynamics are more normal. But I grew up in a very, very traditional power dynamic. My father lorded over the family, made the decisions, and that was kind of that. But then once you remove that figurehead, or let's say that power dynamic is disrupted because he's incapacitated mentally and physically, it created a lot of issues, because my mom was being forced into she had always been sort of, I don't want to say oppressed, but she was more in service to my father, her sort of existence, and us.
Right.
And she was having to do all these things. And yet my dad was still trying to exhibit some sort of control that he really didn't have. And my brother and I were being asked to step up into a place that my brother handled it much better than I did. He faced the repercussions of that much later, psychologically. I was sort of dealt with it in the moment much more. Not dealt with it. It suffered from it in the moment much more.
Right.
And my sister...
You buried it less.
Yeah, my sister was just trying to be in high school. And really, that really sucks. So it was a confluence of a lot of interesting things that understandably, but unfortunately, I haven't really been able to wrestle with and attempt to comprehend until 20-some years later.
Yeah. Well, and I think I would imagine that your understanding of all of that is continually changing, and your experience of it. Like it's such a formational experience that, like, it's, you're going to wrestle with that forever, probably. I think
and
most
to me,
people do.
As we've talked about on the pod many times, the thing that blows my mind the most, but also isn't very understandable, is that in the moment, it feels so enormous that it's like, this will be all consuming for the rest of my life. Cut to only 20 years later here, I can barely piece it together. I can barely remember the pieces outside of like a book I read a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think I can speak for all of us who are listening that we're very sorry that you had to go through all of that. And I know that the next few weeks as we discuss this are probably going to be difficult, but I'm here with you, and I think everyone else is too.
Appreciate that. It's, everybody's has those moments in their lives. So like, we'll just, I'm just going to talk about mine now. Yeah. Well, and
I certainly appreciate being a part of being your confidant on that kind of stuff, even if it's here with us and everyone else in the entire universe.
Emotional moments with Keith are so rare.
Yeah, it's true. I'm dead inside. That's not true. I'm not dead inside. I just it's inside being crushed into, like a piece of coal being crushed into a diamond. Because it only shows up in my work. My work is very emotional. I'm just, guarded. I'll put it that way. All right. Well, moving forward to what's going on in my basement, nothing quite so tragic. A couple of things were happening this week. One is actually, I'm featuring both of my brothers today. In the center of the top photo there, that is my younger brother, who is just graduating from high school this year, was on the Vermont All-State or All-Star hockey team.
Yeah.
And he is a tremendous hockey player, and he would go on further to to playing in juniors, working his way all the way up to junior A. Then he played college hockey. And then, of course, we decided to become a scientist. But he is, I mean, what an unbelievably good hockey player. I mean, like, I think that if he had gone in that direction, he probably could have had a shot at going pro. So very, very cool. And the other photo there, you will see a whole bunch of snow and a Jeep driving through it. That is our driveway that week in Vermont. And of course, our driveway is about a third of a mile long, and we had to plow it ourselves. And so we had an old Jeep with a plow on it to do it. But by this time in the year, the snowbanks would get so big on either side. So if you can see from the picture, the snowbanks on either side of the road are halfway to 3/4 of the way up the height of the Jeep. So it would get very, very difficult to plow because you just push it and then it would fall right back onto the driveway. There was no ditch to throw it into. So this was whenever we had huge storms, in the blizzard in 93, I remember, and I think there's actually one coming up about maybe next year where we had to hand shovel a third of a mile driveway because the Jeep had nowhere to push the snow to. So not before global warming, early global warming, Vermont was different. I wish we had that kind of snow now. Okay, it's now time.
It's time for the Out of Practice Podcast's This Day in the World. The greatest hits, the biggest movies, headlines from Vermont, essential sports updates, and for some inexplicable reason, the weather from 20 years ago. Now back to Keith and Mike.
Thank you, Eric. Let me introduce the top song here on March 18th, the year 2001. And that was, of course, Butterfly by Crazy Town, which I don't think I'd heard, but Jillian told me I'd heard it before. I just didn't remember.
Come, my lady. Come, my lady. Oh, you're my butterfly. Sugar, baby. Yeah.
Come, my lady.
The cover that Burlington Free Press talked about daunting days for UVM. I didn't actually bother to look up exactly what was daunting about it, but my father was still working at UVM at that point, University of Vermont in Burlington. The top movie was Exit Wounds, starring Steven Seagal and DMX. That was, I imagine, bad.
You know, I've got to find it, Keith. My dad, his company did a bunch of like stucco and stuff, and he did a job for Steven Seagal at one point, and so there's a black and white photograph of my dad with Steven Seagal that says, "To Mike and Nick, Steven Seagal." He doesn't even like. He just like he got him to make an autograph real fast, and he didn't even like give us an attribution. He was just like,
"My name is enough." Okay,
yeah, I gotta find that.
I'm Steven Seagal.
That's funny.
God,
my dad was obsessed with Steven Seagal movies. Obsessed.
Was he? Well, I mean, and this was like about the right time because he had that little like undersiegence of his career, and where he was like, oh, Steven Seagal.
I can now officially at this moment in time name one Steven Seagal movie, and it's Exit Wounds, because you just said
Siege.
It. Oh,
well, Under Siege. How could you forget Under Siege? She pops out of the cake. That was a very seminal moment for us.
Oh, that's that movie?
That's that movie.
Oh, well, that's not... I didn't remember it for Steven Seagal, let's say that.
Steven Seagal's amazing performance.
I wore out that rewind button, though.
We all did. Okay, thank you very much, Crazy Town. It's time.
It's time for Sportsball.
The Boston Hockey Bruins took down their mortal enemies, the Montreal Canadiens, 3-2 at the Molson Center. Sergei Samsonov scored 2 goals in the first. Byron Dafoe outdueled Jose Theodore in net. The Flyers beat the Rangers 2-1. Dan McGellis potted the game winner in the second, and Todd Fedoruk fought Rich Pilon in the first.
Sorry, man, I forgot to do it.
All right, now. No. There's a lot of snow in Vermont. That's what the weather was.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. And I'm not going to take this anymore.
It's time to talk about the damn episode.
Okay, folks, we are finally going to talk about the practice. Hey, what do you say? It is season 5, episode 17. What Child Is This? It was written, of course, by David E. Kelly and Lynn E. Litt, who last wrote on the Gideon's crossover. It was directed by Steve Gomer, a first-time director on the practice. Also, you would know him for directing The Guardian, Joan of Arcadia, Veronica Mars, The Unit. He also won the Grand Jury Prize at Sundance in 1993 for a movie called Fly By Night. And that brings us to the last thing we do, and that is...
Yeah, I'm going to have to ask you a question.
What's your
once
problem?
we get past this
Is this what
exceedingly long
happens to
bumper
women when you insert your
with
penis?
tag.
What?
What?
What does Mike think's gonna happen?
You know, what if he would have drank the curdled milk? Then what would have happened?
First of all, let's get off. Eleanor has to have the baby today. Like, she's had every medical drama. Her appendix burst, well, almost burst. She had an inflammation, whatever those words we were saying last week was. It's really hard to pay attention to the actual plot line while I was trying to read it.
What the hell happened? Yeah.
But all I do know is that she didn't have the baby. So she's got to have that baby. I mean, just have
Yeah,
the baby
she better have that
all
baby.
of a sudden.
Yeah.
And my question first is, who's going to be with her? Because nobody seems to have the time of day for her right now, except for Jimmy, who slept at the hospital.
Except for Jimmy. Yeah.
Okay. So, Keith, I need your help a little bit real quick before we get in. And I think this is...
Okay.
What the fuck? Ooh, excuse me. What,
Oh,
my dear.
golly me. Oh. Oh.
What's happening? There was a case that was happening. Right? Like some lady and the dad, they thought maybe he was sleeping with the daughter, like said the dad was sleeping with, there's some sort of something. Hold on.
I'm kind of enjoying you piecing this together.
The mom comes in,
Previously
she's an old
on the practice.
She's an old friend, and the dad, somebody's dead. Somebody is dead. At this moment, maybe it'll come to me. I forget who's dead. The sister, there's a dead daughter. The stepdad is accused of killing her because the sister of the victim said that he was sleeping with the victim.
The victim was actually saying she was sleeping with the victim, but yes.
She's dead now?
Because the victim of murders typically end up dead, yeah.
Yes. Oh, the sister saying that the dead sister had been claiming that she was sleeping with the stepdad.
That's right.
And you and I thought that the mom was acting a little cold and that she was potentially like a Black Widow type. But with her daughter.
Well, you and I and Bobby and company were thinking that.
So that's where we were.
That's right. And the last thing that happened was they discovered semen on the body from the father.
Okay, yes. It's all coming back to me now. So now I got to make some swings because all of that was just recap. Eleanor has the baby. That's a small swing. Big swings. It's not the mom. It's not the dad. It's the other sister. She killed her sister because she was having an affair with the dad.
Ooh.
So it's
wow.
And Bobby's it's going to be an old school drama. Old school courtroom drama. Bobby's going to pull it out of her on the stand with the good old fashioned Plan B. But this one's going to get like all 12 Angry Men style. Like he's going to badger her, and finally she's going to admit to have done the murder.
Okay.
And then we have a happy ending and everybody's seeing Eleanor with her baby.
Wow. Okay. Well, there it is, folks. We're going to find out how right Mike is now when you switch over to your podcasting service of choice, and we are going to talk through the episode proper. We will see you back here for the oopsies.
And we are back, baby.
Guys, if you missed it, and you shouldn't have, in What Does Mike Think's Gonna Happen, Mike fucking nailed it. We are all very, very proud of you for nailing that. So before we do the oopsies, let us have a chance to, because you already kind of did. You already said what happened, but let's see how you recap your own rightness in.
Mike has 30 seconds to remember what just happened on the show.
Wow, fancy.
Hey, y'all. Everybody's pissed because Bobby's playing being the mom. Bobby thinks the dad did it. Eleanor's having another catastrophe, but she's also doing a comedic beat with Helen, but she's having her baby in the hospital. Bobby's plan B and everybody. Linda Hunt's like, yo, Bobby, you shouldn't plan B. You should rethink everything. Bobby finally does the plan B. It happens to work. The jury finds the guy not guilty, but then the daughter, who I predicted killed the sister, came in and admits she killed the sister, and then Eleanor holds a goober baby.
Yes. Well done.
Oof.
Wow. That was very impressive. You want to know what else is impressive? Our award show. It's time for
Play the oopsie video.
Oh, we did so well. Oh, there we go.
Out of Practice podcast, in unofficial, unsolicited, unfactual association with David E. Kelly Productions, proudly present
Oopsie.
The Oopsies! Celebrating excellence in acting good, lawyering good, guesting good, and being Tom Brady. Not to mention, this is where we rate the episode and stuff. Now, here are your hosts, Keith and Mike.
What the hell are the oopsies?
Well, Jackie, they're the fake award show we do quickly because the football has already started. That begins with
Most valuable.
I'll make it quick. Bobby does the things we love Bobby for. I mean, I know Linda Hunt has a problem with it, but this is what I want Eugene running the office so Bobby can just focus on being morally confused, but being the shit out of people, being good looking, and winning murder cases he has no right winning.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, and you know me, nobody loves to moralize more than I do. Nobody loves to be pompously, morally upstanding more than I do. But frankly, Bobby's just doing his job.
Mm-hmm.
His job is he took an oath to zealously defend his clients, and he did. It might have been shitty for everyone involved, but they paid him money to do that shit. So, and he was successful. So congratulations, Bobby Donnell, on your MVL. It's now time for, guys, limber up, get stretched. It is time for the choreography of...
Already famous cause you've been on TV, getting a paycheck. Or the first entry on your IMDb. Way to go, but you're the best guest actor. You are the best guest actor. You are the best guest actor on the episode.
You know, I thought Dr. Lekwovich was great. I thought, you know what? I'm gotta think about this for a minute, Keith. So I'm gonna let you go first.
Okay. Yeah, I thought Isabella Hoffman as Kate Littlefield getting Plan B did an excellent job. I think she really did. I thought she was. I think I learned the character was innocent through her performance, and I think that is actually pretty useful. But for me, as much as it might have been a repeated beat, I thought Linda Hunt's takedown of Bobby, even though I don't necessarily agree with what she's coming from, I thought she did such a good job of eviscerating Bobby. So for me, it goes to Linda Hunt.
I'm gonna go with your first. Your first explanation actually sold me. The Plan B scene was really good, so I think we have a split ski this week.
So congratulations, Linda Hunt and Isabella Hoffman, on your Best Guest Actor Awards. Now it's time for...
You killed your podiatrist or blew the case, but you let a single tear run down your face. You're the best actor on the show.
Eleanor gave great baby.
Yeah.
Helen was great.
Good
Everybody's
baby.
great. Really enjoyed Eugene's understated work. Steve Harris's work this week as well. Understated but great. But
He
I
had
think
2 lines, but yeah.
I think Dylan McDermott, being the quintessential Bobby Donald this week, has to get our nod.
Yeah. No, I think he did. Bobby did great Bobbying. And that's what we want to see him do. We want to see... My favorite Bobby is Bobby in the courtroom, Bobbying it up, all Bobby style. So congratulations, Dylan McDermott, on your Best Actor Award. Coming up next, he is on the field right this minute in Lambeau. Let's see what he gets.
The Tom Brady Award for being Tom Brady.
Last week's Tom Brady Award right here.
Was Tom Brady waiting for Keith's apology, which is never going to happen. But I also will not apologize for not even having done the graphic yet. That's why you don't have it.
That's right. We'll see if it gets here by tomorrow. This one's tough because there was a lot of sex stuff in this episode and then baby stuff on the other side. And we've done a lot of Tom Brady with babies and stuff. So this week, Keith, I'm going to do one of the few times I'm going to let you off the hook, and I'm going to let you pick it, and I'll do the Photoshop.
Okay. All right. This week's Tom Brady Award for being Tom Brady is just how long have you been in that Tupperware, Tom Brady?
I earned that. Okay. This week, Tom Brady, though, just how long have you been in that Tupperware, Tom Brady? Wins this week's award for the Tom Brady Award for being Tom Brady, and that brings us to...
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to announce how many spare tires this episode gets.
For me, it's a shame that we non-canoned the Gideon's Crossing crossover, because the only thing about the episode that's sort of like was unnecessary to me was all of the Eleanor bits. I love Eleanor. I love that she's having the baby. I feel bad that it gets the B story, but this episode was firing on all cylinders as just a one-story story. We got all the things we love. We got the plan B. We got that great tension of when you don't really know if the guy's guilty or innocent, but Bobby's fighting for him anyway. Bobby has his own opinions. We're being presented some evidence, some red herrings, all kinds of stuff. But in the end, I thought it was a great, pretty good episode, if a little uneven. I just feel like we've hit a lot of these beats before, but now we can see them sort of weighing on Bobby. And, I still was excited at the end. I still wanted to know what was happening. I'm really happy to have called it, if by accident. And, but it doesn't stand out as one of the bests. But it's a great episode of television. Even 20 years later, it excited me quite a bit. So I'm going to give it 7.36 spare tires. That's
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I agree with you on a lot of that.
Uh-oh.
Out of Practice podcast.
Here we go.
Here we go. Yeah, I liked a lot of the beats. I thought the case was interesting, and I thought the ambiguity of the case was interesting, and I really did like that. I did, however, find the twist at the end, however, remarkably called by you, a little ham-fisted, and it's starting to become a bit of the practice trope where the twist killer comes in and confesses it at the last second for no reason and at great peril. And this one felt not quite as well set up as the others. If this was where you were you were going, I think there might have been a more compelling way to get us here. It felt a little just thrown in at the end to make sure that we have a twist at the end. And like you executed so much of it so well. And like I said, on the jury, if I'm on the jury in that case, I don't really know where to go. I don't know whether he's guilty or not.
Right.
And I would have liked that to be set up just a little bit better so it doesn't feel like a mid M. Night Shyamalan twist. You know what? Like the first one was so great. And then he got better again recently, but there was like 6 movies in a row where like, oh, here comes the twist. And it was like, I don't know. I feel like that could have been executed better. The Eleanor stuff was, it was sort of a retread of what happened on Gideon's Crossing, but also like a lesser in all categories. The stakes were less. All of the beats are your obvious baby beats. You know, for every TV show has these exact same baby beats.
Right.
And I think it was just a little bit phoned in. It was a little bit plug and play. And so when you have somebody of Cameron's stature and her abilities, you have, I don't know, just tell a more interesting baby story. And that was the same thing with Gideon's Crossing too. Like, tell a more interesting story.
Right.
These are not, like, both of the stories were just not that compelling, both from a medical standpoint or as a character standpoint. We learned nothing about Eleanor through this. It was, you know, like baby plot. You've plot A, plot B, plot C. This was plot B of like TV baby stories. And it just was a little bit like, yeah, okay, sure. If I needed to hammer out a script in half an hour, I'd probably use one of those stories. But, right. You know, you're a gazillion Emmy-winning show with gazillion Emmy-winning actors. Just tell a more interesting story. That's what I have to say about the Eleanor baby thing. So as a result, I think I didn't like this episode as much as you did. I found it interesting, but at the end, it wasn't that great. It was a little bit, it felt a little bit like fast food to me. It was fast food practice. So I'm going to give it 6.17 spare tires. Just not necessarily on the episode itself, because it's a good episode of television. It's just compared to what it could be. I'm grading
like your
it
dad,
against
when you got
itself.
When you got a B on that test, Keith, and he was like, you know, I'm not mad at you, Keith. I'm just a little disappointed.
Exactly. I'm not mad. I'm disappointed. So there it is. Those are your numbers. And you have gotten through another episode of the Out of Practice podcast. If you would like to join the conversation, and please join us, it will improve the conversation. I guarantee it. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Out of Practice Podcast. You can email us directly at outofpracticepodcast@gmail.com. You can go and see our rankings on the outofpracticepodcast.blogspot.com blog. You can do us a gigantic favor and leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or any other podcasting service of your choice. Just let us know. You can join the jury. The Out of Practice podcast is brought to you by generous donations from Leanne Wrights, Cloud Lover 69, Jorge Navoa, and Jennifer Massanova.
If you'd like to join them, you can do so by clicking on the links in our show notes. Or you know what, this week, if you'd like to save those pennies and purchase Keith's book, you can also find those links in the show notes. It's gonna be a hella good time. I'm getting mine in the mail any day now.
Yeah, as soon as you order one.
Welcome to. I'm still reading the spec copy of your other book.
That's true.
You know what, folks? We appreciate you joining us. No need to get out that Tupperware. We're giving you free samples of our own great podcast goodness every week. So you can go ahead and warm it up in the microwave with some laser sounds. What?
Oh, no. That might be worse than your last one. Laser sounds. Oh, my Lord.